What's good, babies? It's T Styles, and I'm going to give you 5 steps on what you need to do to write a revenge novel that thrills. If you don't know me, I own and operate the Cartel Publications, which is an urban fiction publishing house. And I've also been writing since 2006. I've written 92 books. So I am your people. And in addition to that, for the past 2 or 3 years, I've been coaching 6-figure authors on what they need to do to reach their fullest potential and write stories that sell. So this strategy that I'm going to be going over is tried and true, and it works. First of all, I want to tell you why revenge stories tend to be good stories for beginning authors. Number one, everybody has experienced some type of perceived wrong or wrong in their life. And in some cases, sadly, we wished we would have done something to get back at those who did us this wrong. And so revenge stories are a real easy way to connect with people who are feeling deeply, And what I like about them is when you write these stories, you don't have to go crazy out there and really enact these revenge plots in real life, because you would have gotten some release. So the major reason why these stories tend to do well for first-time authors is because people know of or have experienced themselves firsthand what it feels like to be on the wrong end of somebody treating them wrong, okay? So let's get into the steps. I'm going to look at my notes, okay? The first thing you need to do in order to make a revenge novel or create a revenge novel that's going to really land is you have to have a protagonist that experienced a wrong or perceived wrong. And notice I said perceived. We're going to go into that in a minute. So in order for these stories to go off, you're going to have to have a character who experienced something that happened to them. And it has to be great. It can't be something soft. So somebody kicks them in the knee. It hurts for a little while. They get over it. That's not what we're talking about. Now, if that person kicks them in the knee, but this person has also been responsible for ruining their lives, taking their girlfriend, now kicking them out of the house they lived in forever, okay, now it can be a story for revenge, especially if this person is a bully. So the perceived wrong or the actual wrong must be great, okay? Number 2, the protagonists in these stories can't find justice through the traditional means, okay? So they have gone to the cops in some cases. They have sought help from people in and around them. They even, in some cases, tried to plead with the antagonist. So they have tried all they could do to get out of this situation before the situation gets out of hand. And so that is very necessary when we're talking about writing these stories. Without that component, it's not going to work. And generally, when you're talking about the protagonist and trying to get help from traditional means, police, people in and around them, they're doing this because the antagonist is the person who has caused this problem. Okay, so the antagonist has to be, in a lot of cases, active within these storylines. Okay, 3, the problem the protagonist suffered is personal, okay? So it can't be something that happened to their neighbor across the street unless this particular person has also done something to them, and it could be like a final straw type of situation. But it has to be personal. It either happened to them, this wrong, and or it happened to somebody that they love, a child, a spouse. So it has to be a wrong that is personal. And the reason why that is so important is it actually fuels the motivation for the story to go on. So think about movies. It's always easier to see these stories play out in movies, like Enough, when Jennifer Lopez married the cop, or the guy who she was dating, who was, had ties in with the cops, and he was abusive. In addition to that, he was cheating on her. So she tried to get help from outside sources. She even tried to go to her friends to get help, but he got involved in that. So nothing else seemed to work, but it was personal. He was personally attacking her, and she probably feared that this was going to present itself in some form to her child. So it has to be personal. It can't be over there this happened, okay? The next thing is the protagonist and the reader should feel that the protagonist is the right person, the person with the most morals. Now, we want to be careful with these kind of stories because morals has a lot of background noise as far as, the Justice Department and all that kind of stuff, and or justice in traditional means. Be careful with that, because the person can still be, the lead person can still be an anti-hero, a person that would be in no ways considered a hero traditionally, and still be the protagonist. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a moral strong person, but between the two, the protagonist and the antagonist, the readers need to feel that the protagonist is the most right in this situation. So I want to preface that, because people may think that, the person got to be, such a good person. As a matter of fact, if you put a character in this type of situation who's so perfect, so good, who've never done anything wrong, it can come across a little sappy and people won't be interested. So having the protagonist have some layers and the possibility of doing what's necessary to get the right justice will make for a better book, okay? And finally, the end of the story has to all come together with the antagonist getting what he or she deserved. If you don't have that, these revenge stories are not going to be satisfying. Because remember, most people look at these movies and stories because, number one, the protagonist has a clear goal. We know what it is that they're trying to do. We are riding with them to see if this is going to happen. And at the end, we need that to happen. It almost feels like, oh, finally somebody around me got justice. Finally somebody around me got the bad guy. So that's why these stories tend to be good. Now, you don't need to build your career around revenge stories, and you don't necessarily want to have a career around always having negative topics, if that especially is not you, or topics that are heavy loaded with let me get the bad guy. But in the beginning, especially if you're drawing upon experiences that happen to you, when you tap these kind of stories, they always end up, especially if you write them right, in a story that's satisfying, and in a lot of cases, the stories that you are able to get behind. So I'm going to go over them quickly again. Number one, the protagonist experienced a wrong or perceived wrong. Okay, they perceived and or something physically or emotionally happened to them. Okay. The second thing is, protagonists can't find justice through the regular means. They've gone to the police. They've gone to people in and around their lives. They even, in some cases, have gone to the antagonist directly and say, look, why are you doing this to me? And they're getting no justice, okay? The problem has to be suffered personal. It has to be a personal situation for the protagonist. It can't be something that happened to them over there, unless this antagonist also did it to them over there. They witnessed it, and it's the last straw. So it has to be a personal situation. Themselves, their loved ones, friend, anybody that they care about, it has to be that. Also, the protagonist, well, actually the readers should feel that the protagonist has the best moral ground between the two. Now, be careful with morals, because your protagonist can be an anti-hero character, a character that wouldn't really be perceived as to be a hero character, but still, based off of this situation, they are in the right. So when we say morals, I want to be loose off of that, okay? But between the two, readers should feel like, okay, either this person's a good person and deserves this win, and or based on what happened, and I understand why this protagonist is doing what's happening, regardless of me liking this person or not, I get it. So it has to be that kind of situation. And finally, the end must result in the antagonist getting what he or she deserves. That's the satisfying part of these stories. One of my very favorite first books that I wrote was Shitless, and it was a revenge novel, and she literally went down the list of people who wronged her, and it's still to this day one of my most popular books and one of my most best-selling novels. So it can work. And the major component is because everybody has experienced this kind of feeling before. So I hope this helps. If you are trying to write a book and you're on the fence, please look up the EliteWritersAcademy.com. Join my membership. We meet twice a month, and we also meet every Monday for our accountability calls. So basically, members of my program are asked to fill out their planners, their online planners for word count, marketing, writing, and things like that. And then we meet on Mondays to see if they kept their promise, if they stuck to their plans. So if you need some guidance and you are all over the place, now is the time to join. Also, we are doing our very first How to Write a Book in 7 Days challenge based off of the course, How to Write a Book in 7 Days. If you're watching this book and that challenge is over for this month, still grab the course. It's highly effective. It works. I used it the harder way for my very first 2 books, Hustler Son and Black and Ugly, which I wrote in a week each. And it's up to date version. There's no reason why. You get guidance down to the minute. So again, hope this helps. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Make sure you subscribe too. Bye.